Hello and welcome to our June Economic Update. I'm Michael Watson, Head of Distribution, Asia Pacific. In this month's update, we start with a look at the Australian macroeconomic environment and a review of economist forecasts. Across a range of data points, projections show an economy growing while reacting to the recent spike in inflation and post-COVID volatility. But let's be clear, against all the negative news, no one's forecasting a recession. There are headwinds, yes, but GDP is on track to remain positive through 2022 and 2023. This part of the update is good news. Household savings remain elevated and start at an exceptionally strong position. Some $228 billion sit in mortgage offset accounts, with significant excess household savings since the start of 2020. These household savings levels are now normalising as predicted. Unemployment, a standout figure through the pandemic, sits at generational lows at 3.9% and is predicted to remain low. Previous recessions have seen unemployment rise into double-digit territory. If there were to be a recession now, it could be the first set against the backdrop of full employment. Of course, the biggest headlines right now are centred squarely on inflation, interest rates, and the impact on house prices. Let's begin with inflation. Immediately post-pandemic, we saw the advent of supply-side inflation as shipping constraints and the cost of energy saw some prices rise. Late-stage quantitative easing, combined with international government stimulus, rebounding economies, and the war in Ukraine, sees inflation broader-based and economy-wide. While lower than our international peers, headline inflation here in Australia is 5.1% and forecast to rise as high as 7% by year end. With wages currently rising at 2.4%, the real cost of living is increasing. To combat inflation, central banks around the globe are retracing very accommodative post-COVID settings and implementing swift tightening. In short, interest rates are going up. Here in Australia, you can anticipate the RBA's cash rate to continue to increase across the next 12 months. While forecasted peaks will not be high by historic standards, the impact will at least be twofold, impacting the cost of living and impacting the price of credit. The chart on screen now shows the impact of increasing interest rates as a percentage of disposable income. With low interest rates currently, household interest payments are low as a percentage of disposable income. An increase of 1.5% in rates, or even 2%, will see this increase back to longer-term levels. A 3% increase, which is at the higher end of economists' predictions, sees this comparison still sit below previous peaks, however, getting back towards the higher end of historic observations. To address the impact on credit, now let's look at the impact of increasing interest rates on a hypothetical new borrower. All things being equal, a sudden increase in rates reduces the capacity to borrow. This will add to the pressure on house prices. How much will depend on the magnitude of any rate increase, but a reduced loan amount will place downward pressure on residential house prices. The tailwinds of GDP and unemployment present against headwinds of inflation and interest rates. But of course, all things never remain equal for long, and we remain at a strong point to begin such a cycle. Wages are increasing, productivity levels are supportive of further wage increases, and industrial disputes are at long-term levels. And this will be relevant should governments need to consider workplace reforms. Borrowers have record sums in redraw, household savings remain elevated, and despite falling confidence, household spending has not yet fallen. Thank you for taking the time to watch our economic update. If you have any queries, please contact our asset management team on 1800 818 818.